Hey everyone, I'm Foxx with RealMarcFoxx, and this is the Foxx Experience, where I get to tell you all about my experience in playing a game. Often hot takes, sometimes not so hot takes, maybe even cold takes, but there's always going to be a take that's interesting. Usually, most of the time. At least should be. I try to make it interesting, okay guys? Today we're diving into RoboCop Rogue City.
Dead or alive, you're watching RealMarcFoxx. Make sure you watch RealMarcFoxx or there will be trouble.
I played this on the PC, but you can also get it on Mac, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Pipe S, or play it on one of those weird services like GeForce Now or Amazon Luna, I guess. I mean, if you're already subscribed, then it's probably free to you, no additional charge, so why not check it out? And RoboCop Rogue City is definitely one you will probably want to check out. Playing RoboCop Rogue City took me back to my childhood. I saw the original movie, released in 1987, back way before I probably should have. You see, my dad had a habit of showing me movies that I was really too young for, as long as my mom wasn't home at the time. I remember getting lots of RoboCop toys, not only the cybernetic police officer himself, but also one of the best toys I ever had, the Ed 209. Man, that thing was awesome. I mean, what boy wouldn't want an Ed 209 as a child? And now that I'm talking about it, I'm trying to think, whatever happened to my RoboCop toys, and most of the toys I had as a kid? My best guess is that my mom probably just threw them out. Hey, Mom, what'd you do with my RoboCop toys? She threw them out. Released on November 2nd, 2023, I originally did a video blasting the game for doing what the movie did, making nearly all of the bad guys white. Apparently, future Detroit is full of almost entirely white gangs, a far cry from the reality of Detroit today, a city I've been to more than once. I actually interviewed for a job in Detroit one time for the Japan Consulate General, and needless to say, I didn't get the job. But you don't always get what you want. RoboCop the movie may also have helped inspire me to write my own cyberpunk sci-fi novel, New Tokyo, about a police officer in Japan. In fact, I think it's an incredible book, if I don't say so myself, and although it isn't the exact same genre as RoboCop, it does fall under the cyberpunk light genre, and I think if you give it a shot, you won't be disappointed. It's available on Kindle, Kindle Unlimited, and, of course, paperback formats. Link in the description. I remember watching a documentary about the making of the RoboCop movie, the first one back in 1987, and one person who was involved in the production, maybe the director, I can't remember specifically, commented on how he wanted to make the gangs of Detroit look and feel like the real gangs of Detroit do today. However, he was essentially told that, well, you can't do that. You can't represent certain groups as being involved in crime, and so instead, he basically changed almost all of the bad guys to white, because apparently it's considered safe to make white people bad guys. I actually don't appreciate, as a white person, my race being considered the safe race to represent negatively in media, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. It's just part of the woke DEI aspect. I'm not gonna say this game is woke, but this has been ingrained in our culture and society from as early as the 80s, okay? This was the mid-80s when they were shooting RoboCop, and even back then, they were being told that you can't represent minorities as being involved in crime, even if it is realistic to actual statistics and the reality of the city that your movie takes place in. It was originally shot in Dallas, but it's representing a future Detroit. If you're interested in my original video about RoboCop, in which I call it a white male murder simulator, you can check it out link in the description. RoboCop Rogue City released to pretty solid sales and reviews. It has a Metacritic user score of 8.1, which is not bad at all. I don't put stock in the critic or professional critic score because we all know what those are. Those are anti-gamer, left-wing, radical, lunatic, woke propaganda machines. And why would you care anything about those as I bump into my microphone here? I'm getting very animated with my hands. I'm very passionate about the whole issue woke and DEI in games. It
needs to die.
Steam users rated it very positive with over 11,000 reviews, so you can rest comfortably assured that if you pick up this game, you'll probably find it to be at least passable, if not good. But be warned, RoboCop Rogue City is not a AAA production, and in many ways that may actually be a good thing. We're finding AAA and quadruple A games lately are just garbage, so perhaps picking up games that are less than AAA is the way to go, and in this case, that does seem to be the case. However, it does contain a variety of stilted facial animations as well as numerous grammatical errors in the text. The subtitles don't always match the speech either, but that's not a big deal. I don't think most people would really notice that. They probably also won't notice the grammatical errors because, unlike most people, I'm of extremely high intelligence. You see, I just know things that other people don't, and I'm extremely skilled with the English language. That's why I wrote a novel. Have I mentioned it yet? It's called New Tokyo, in which I went through it word by word, sentence by sentence, trying to make sure there were no grammatical errors, although in the end I think I ended up with maybe 3 left over that people have pointed out to me. I haven't updated it to a second edition yet. Maybe I'll do that in the future, but until then, why don't you pick up your copy? Link is in the Hey, so maybe you won't notice any of the grammatical errors in the game. It's usually just in the subtitles alone because, of course, not everyone is on my intellectual level. So the game boots up to an absolutely amazing rendition of the RoboCop theme, arguably one of the best themes of all time, and I'm not kidding. I would listen to this theme while driving around in my car. It's just that good. It's definitely in my top 5 movie themes. The theme here for the game is actually pretty low-key, bringing with it a piano rendition, but it hits just right for the theme song for the title of this game, and it comes in with that classic RoboCop riff that we would all recognize, and it feels right, and you just want to sit there and look at the title screen and listen to it. And that's exactly what I did. If you're not the type of person to do that, well, try it here. Try it here just this once. If you're a fan of RoboCop and you like the main theme of the game, or rather the movie originally, then I think you'll like the theme of the game. Man, that is so good. I'd listen to that through my helmet speakers while riding my motorcycle, because that's just how much of a badass I am, listening to the RoboCop theme while riding a motorcycle. This game hits hard, starting out with RoboCop moving in on thugs who've taken over the news station building. And of course, it's not a handful of thugs, it's dozens upon dozens of them. It really sets the stage by kicking things off with a massive firefight. More games need to do this. Start strong with interesting, engaging gameplay. No more of this nonsense of you're a boy in a peaceful town and your sister's wandered off, and then your sister comes back and says, oh, my cat's missing, and can you go find my missing cat? Although, to be honest, there is literally a find the missing cat quest in this game. I think it might be optional, but I did it, if for no other reason than to tell my feline-loving wife that I rescued this cute little creature. They put a lot of effort into making this game look and feel like an authentic RoboCop movie. It's arguably better than the third movie, although that's a low bar to beat. I would say that if this had been RoboCop 3, people would have been a lot happier with the movie than the RoboCop 3 that we got. If you want the RoboCop movie experience, but in a game form with lots of actual gameplay, then this is it. This is it. This is for you. This is the RoboCop sequel we did not get. And yes, I'm aware there was a second movie and a third movie and then a bunch of like spin-off movies and maybe some spin-off TV series that didn't feature Peter Weller as the original actor. I'm aware of all that. RoboCop 2 was good, not great. Arguably, RoboCop Rogue City would have made a better movie than RoboCop 2 even. And speaking of Peter Weller, the actor who played RoboCop in the movie, he is the voice actor for RoboCop in the game, which is really cool, although I do have to say that at times his acting feels just a little bit forced. I think it was probably because they were rushing some of this voice acting. That's the sense I get from it. Ann Lewis's character makes a significant appearance here, although she is not voiced by Nancy Allen. Her voice actress does a good enough job.
Worried about the weight limit?
Lewis, you're here.
We need to get these elevators back online. The service box is in the basement.
Let me.
I doubt you had time between all the heroics, but I got a key card from the janitor. It's good to do some real street work from time to time, you know? After you.
And don't eat sugary cereal, folks. It'll give you diabetes. Or is it diabetes? Which one is it, guys?
Diabetes, 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 diabetes.
Thank you, Wilford. Diabetes, diabetes, diabetes,
Diabetes, diabetes, diabetes, diabetes, diabetes,
diabetes, diabetes, diabetes, diabetes.
I just love all the added flavor there is in this game. Funny posters, news broadcast commercials, they all have that unique tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic humor you'd expect from the movie. Feels authentic, kind of like peeing outside. There's a lot of interesting stuff to see if you keep your eyes open for it. Though it is missing that most iconic of TV shows that we saw in the movie, where the guy grabs the two girls and said, "I'd buy that for $1." Anybody who's a RoboCop fan knows that moment. One of the most iconic moments in the movie, and it's nowhere to be found here in the game. They could have at least done something with it, some sort of reference. And if there is one in the game, please let me know, because I didn't find it.
I'd buy that for $1.
There are, however, a ton of references to the franchise here. It's been a long time since I've seen the second or third movie, but there are references to those too. Thankfully, there's no jetpack in this game, and anyone who's seen RoboCop 3 would know why. That's a good thing. The game really pushes the issue of RoboCop's humanity, that man versus machine, but in one body. While he is called RoboCop, he's actually a cyborg. Part man, part machine. And that's where a lot of the problems lie. You see, he's not just a machine that files his programming. He's a human grafted into a machine. There's still a human brain there with emotions and thoughts and feelings, and that does come into play here in the game. Not only is that an issue that the game grapples with, but you also actually experience some hardship because of the fact that RoboCop is not all robo, he's also a man. And a cop. This also leads to a lot of flashbacks and glimpses of his past, which are all very well done. Kind of like this shot of his human face in the reflection of the TV. Well done, Taeyon. Very well done. Taeyeon's the developer of the game, by the way. So expect the human side of RoboCop to come up many times in this game, and to even be used against him, just like it was in the movies. You're quickly introduced to this OCP corporate asshole Becker.
All right. Are you done with this circle jerk, huh? Good. We've got a problem.
And boy, is he one lovable asshole. I quickly came to identify with him in some ways, if for no other reason than his blunt honesty and penchant for speaking his mind. He's presented as an obvious bad guy, totally against RoboCop, wanting to shut him down, but is he really a bad guy? Will he turn out to be the bad guy in the end? Only way to know is to keep watching my video or to play the game for yourself. I recommend you do both of those things. Watch this video and play the game. So, is he really a bad guy? Make your bets now. You end up at a concert in an effort to pursue the thug who took hostages at the news station, and a song plays here that you're going to hear over and over again throughout the game. It's not bad, but it's also not really that good. It's just like thoroughly mediocre, but as far as I can tell, they may have actually made this song just for this game. I didn't bother looking it up, so if you've looked it up and it was a pre-existing song before RoboCop Rogue City, please let me know in the comments section below. So one of the many smaller quests you get sent on involves testing out your duty weapon. They talk about calibrating the weapon, but it's just a handgun with iron sights. So I'm not really sure what you would be calibrating about the gun. I guess RoboCop is calibrating his computer system to his use of the gun. That might make sense, but calibrating the gun itself, I'm not really sure what that means. I do have a lot of experience with guns, not a gun expert by any means, but I'm not really sure what you'd be calibrating. Maybe on a sniper rifle, you could calibrate the sights, but on a regular handgun with iron sights, I don't know what that means. Becker assigned some brand new rookie cop to oversee RoboCop. Not only is it strange to have a newbie watching RoboCop, but this guy goes through literally zero training. He just talks to Becker, says he wants to be a cop. Becker asks if he's sure. He says, yes, I am. And Becker grabs an old badge and hands it to him and says, there you go. You're a cop now. No academy, no field training with an experienced officer. Just boom, you're a police officer. Just like that. That is insane. So RoboCop is tasked with pursuing a biker gang. Now, I'm no biker gang guy. I've never been in a motorcycle club, and I don't have any plans to be. I just ride one on occasion because it's really fun. I mean, driving a car, even a stick shift, pales in comparison to the thrills of riding on a motorcycle. And it's especially thrilling when a deer comes out of nowhere, blindsides you, T-bones you right on your side, and causes you to have a low side crash and have what I called an on-schedule appointment with the pavement, and I've still got the scars to show for it. Hey, but don't worry, I fixed the bike up and I was riding it the next day. Back to RoboCop Rogue City, I can't help but notice the bikers don't even use the controls on the bike when they ride around. But whatever, that's a minor nitpick that most people would never pick up on. I'm not going to say that's because of my super high intellect this time, although I do have super high intellect. That's just merely based on my experience riding a bike. Apparently, they were told that this area is not police jurisdiction, and I'm like, say what? The entire city of Detroit is the Detroit Police Department's jurisdiction. The only exemptions would be any federally owned sections of the city. For example, if there's a IRS building in the city of Detroit, I'm sure there is, that would be federally owned under federal jurisdiction. Same thing with post offices, federally owned under federal jurisdiction, although in most cases, there's an agreement that the local police will handle most crimes that occur at the post office. But needless to say, I'm meandering here. I don't think there should be any part of the city of Detroit that should be considered not police jurisdiction. So when police are told by OCP that they can't go there, that's highly suspicious. I think what we have here is a good old-fashioned case of a mega-rich corporation and corruption. Who would have guessed? I never would have thought that the super wealthy, all-powerful mega corporation would be involved in any degree of crime or corruption. Just unthinkable. Oh, and OCP is Omni Consumer Products, the mega corporation that practically runs Detroit, which was featured in the movies. It's kind of as if Amazon and Apple were merged together and took over a city. Most of you are probably thinking that'd be a terrible thing, but if you look at how most cities in America are run today, I can't imagine it would be any worse. And not surprisingly, they decide to have the bikers prominently feature the German Iron Cross, symbol used in Germany since the mid-1800s, possibly even earlier, that is erroneously attached and associated solely with the Nazis. But I'm sorry, yes, they did use it, but it was used long before them, so no, it is not solely their symbol, but I think clearly the idea here is to associate the bikers with Nazis because the white guys are bad. It's a theme that comes up in a lot of movies, comes up in a lot of TV shows, comes up in a lot of video games, it comes up in almost all media nowadays. This has been going on since at least the mid-1980s. And I like that the criminals set up a camera to record themselves committing a felony. That's real smart. If I were a criminal, I'd be a lot smarter than that. I'd cover my face, then I'd start the camera, I'd look straight into it and say, this is not Mark Foxx committing these felonies. Boom, there you go. The police would automatically know it's not Mark Foxx. They wouldn't come looking for me, and they'd have no idea it was me, and I'd be scot-free. So in the open construction area here, my FPS just went to shit. I'm talking a total nuclear meltdown of frames. I was getting in the 130s, 140s frames per second, and then suddenly I come out into this open area construction zone, which yes, does have a pretty long field of view in there, but still, I don't see why it had to dip into the 40s. I mean, this is like console performance level. I don't pay for a powerful gaming PC to see console performance. If I wanted console performance, I'd get down there in the dirt and buy one of those plastic console boxes that so many of you love so much. And I'm just kidding, guys. It's fine if you want to play on console. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just personally, I'm a PC gamer nowadays. I played on a lot of consoles throughout my life, but PC is where it's at. So we finally get to see an Ed 209 in action, and boy was this part awesome. It's never disappointing to encounter the Ed 209 units, even if I'm not fighting them. But as you might suspect, you sure as well do fight one, or actually more than one. I mean, come on, this is RoboCop. How could you not at least fight one Ed 209 in the game? It had to happen. It had to happen. So the Ed 209 supposedly malfunctions and starts ordering the cop to drop his weapon, giving him that iconic countdown. Except, well, this cop has no weapon. I mean, take a look. There's nothing in his hand and there's not even a gun in his holster. But then again, I guess that's part of the whole malfunction idea, isn't it? Ed 209 malfunctioned and attacked the police, so I doubt that. I bet that was part of the plan all along. Becker and his goons have been gunning for RoboCop since the start. So Lewis gets shot, at which point I figure she's dead, but she's not. She's at the hospital. RoboCop goes to visit her.
I am looking for a female officer who arrived yesterday with a gunshot wound.
You need to be a little more specific, honey.
Why didn't he just ask for her by name? He's like, oh, I'm here for an officer. Here's what she looks like. But he knows her name. The hospital knows her name. Just say her name. Say, hey, I'm here to see Ann Lewis. She was shot. I mean, wouldn't that be easier than giving them a physical description of the person whose name you know? Weird guy, this RoboCop. So someone, maybe OCP, is collecting bodies in an effort to harvest human brains. I guess that means the woke liberals are safe because they don't have any brains to harvest. Oh, good one. Zinger. Really got them.
Sick burn.
So RoboCop gets evaluated after each major story mission, and Becker has a scientist evaluate him as well as a psychologist. You get a score based on how well you did, namely how much evidence you collected, hostages you saved, side quests, etc. Score turns into experience points, which you can then put into skills, and more on those later. I found myself to be a real solid B grade kind of guy in this game. I was just getting B's all around, a real B team player, if you know what I mean. Hey, we can't all be straight A students, and wasn't I just talking about how much smarter I was than everyone else earlier? Well, whatever. These are evaluations for RoboCop. They're not for me specifically. So when you go into the menus to assign skills, you're reminded of just how authentic to the movie even the interface is. The green text and old school Apple II aesthetic fits right in, just like RoboCop's interface. Assign points to your weapon damage, health, armor, etc. I focused almost exclusively on offensive and defensive skills because I like the combat, and I mostly ignored all that other shit because really I don't care about the dialogue options and scanning stuff better. And yeah, you can go into engineering and open up safes that probably would have contained some pretty cool items, but if you're gonna do that, you'll probably want to do that right away. The sooner you spec into certain skills, the more benefit you can get from them as you progress through the story. And keep in mind, once you've completed a mission area, you can't go back. This is not open world. So any of those safes or other areas you missed or couldn't access because of your skill level, well, they're gone. That's it. You could put some points in engineering so you get better chips when you merge them. Yeah, you slot chips into PCBs in RoboCop. You also find new PCB boards. It's like a minigame, giving you rewards if you get it right, like weapon spread, damage, magazine capacity, and so on. The goal is to power all the beneficial nodes while avoiding the negative ones. And trust me, even just one negative node can ruin everything. I'm not even kidding here. If you power even one of the negative nodes on a PCB board, that might wipe out all the benefits and more, take you into the negative compared to how you were before. So trust me when I say this, don't power any of the negative nodes. So back at the station, you can decide to help your rookie overseer or not. I chose to help him out most of the time. I always feel for the rookies. They get treated like such shit. Not surprisingly, the department gave him a faulty gun. The thing can't shoot worth a shit, but you know what? That's not entirely unrealistic. I can imagine a department giving an officer a gun that's just crappy and was beat up, and I don't know. How can it not shoot? It's probably the sights are all screwed up.
Thanks to RoboCop's insubordination, we finally have something concrete.
Insubordination? I can dig that. I'm just kidding. I obviously myself, would never commit an act of insubordination. So let's talk about an issue I've had with these Ed 209 units since I saw the first movie. Why do they growl? They're fully mechanical and computerized. They're pure robots. There's no human element here. There's no animal element here. So why do they growl like some animal? I'm just gonna chalk that up to Hollywood. They love adding stuff like that because they think it seems cool or interesting, even though it's completely unrealistic and even silly. Who would make a robot like this and then program in the growling sound effect? I'm not really sure what the point of that would be. But whatever, you know how Hollywood is. It's run by the Jew. So on the mission to retake the OCP bank from thugs, one of the Ed 209 units that's assisting you just falls down. Yeah, it just collapses. I mean, it face plants if it had a face, goes down for no particular reason, didn't even seem to be taking any hits. So once again, these things seem extremely faulty. Who would want to fight alongside these things? I mean, really, they can just turn on you in a moment's notice or collapse and be completely useless. So not surprisingly, you discover more corruption at OCP, including possible collusion with the gangs. No, the rich mega corporation is colluding with criminals to try to expand its control over the city?
Color me shocked.
Would have never guessed it. No, I'm just half joking there, guys. Of course, the mega corporation has to be corrupt. This is cyberpunk after all. And you know what else is cyberpunk? My novel, New Tokyo. You can pick a copy up for yourself by following the link in the The game does have some texture pop-in issues at times. It's most notable when it's switching from one character to the other during dialogue segments. You might see stuff in the background just kind of pop in, at least from the lower resolution to the higher resolution. It sometimes even happens with RoboCop where it'll switch to him and then you see the armor in a lower res and boom, suddenly just pops up higher resolution on you. I'm really not sure that's necessary, especially on a powerful gaming PC, but this might have been a holdover, a vestigial aspect of the game when it was designed for consoles. And one thing I can't get over is this guy's forced accent. Just listen to this.
What a slimy bastard.
Slimy bastard. Sometimes a voice actor can put too much work into the voice. I mean, don't try too hard, guys, okay? Becker's back again, and when asked how he's feeling, responds thus.
How are you feeling after the incident at the bank?
Who gives a shit?
God, I love this guy. This is my second favorite character in this game, other than RoboCop. And no, I'm not kidding. You think I'm kidding, I'm not. I love Becker's character.
Who gives a shit?
And you'll see more of him soon. We're not done with this slimy bastard yet.
Who gives a shit?
So now it's time to meet the old man himself, the CEO of OCP, except he wants to meet RoboCop in an old derelict building. I mean, what gives? He's the CEO of one of the richest corporations arguably in the country. We're led to believe that, at least the richest one in Detroit. And yet this super wealthy CEO of the richest corporation in the city wants to meet RoboCop in a ratty, beat up, derelict building in the middle of the slums. I mean, I thought for sure this was a setup. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. I was actually surprised. This was not a setup. You get set up in this game, but this isn't it. But really, why all the secrecy? This is the type of place you'd meet with somebody in order to do a drug deal. This is not the place where you talk to a bigwig CEO. And here we are at that missing cat quest. You work alongside your partner and overseer, scanning shit and following a trail. Why? Why are we wasting time looking for a lost cat? It's not a police matter. There's no crime here. It's not a crime that your cat has gone missing. It's not a person. This isn't a police thing. Why are we even doing it? Interestingly enough, Robo gives his partner some good advice here. He talks about keeping the flashlight away from his body, because as an officer, if you have the flashlight right up here, holding it right next to your head, and somebody shoots at the source of the light, they might clock you in the face or the head. Well, I mean, the face is on the head. That would be a bad thing, so you want to hold the light out a little farther, so if they shoot at it, maybe they don't hit you. That's actually good advice. He also mentions taking corners wide to get the best view into a room. Stuff from actual police training, so kudos to them. So the cat quest leads into another shootout with thugs, and your partner gets shot. But the two of them just stand there, having this casual conversation, and I'm like, should we call an ambulance? You know, you've been shot? I know it's not the most serious shooting wound, it appears to be off the side of the arm, but we should probably still call an ambulance. Then you're tasked with fixing fucking car for a mechanic. No, I'm not kidding. I mean, yes, trying to find a missing cat, that is tangentially related to what some police departments do, but fixing a car for a mechanic is not even tangentially related at all. Like, this is as if RoboCop is just working a second job while on duty. I'm pretty sure that's an ethics violation. Oh, and the game is littered with posters for P. Roxy, whatever this is. Looks like an anime. Maybe not a bad one either. I mean, she's got a great butt on her. But you know who has an even greater butt? Is my wife. I said it. So there are dialogue options in this game, and they have some consequences. I give this completely neutral response, not taking any sides in the upcoming mayoral election, and the game tells me I supported John Mills. The fuck I did. I didn't support anything. My response was completely neutral, and the game's just like, oh, well, you supported this guy. No, I didn't. So apparently future Detroit still has payphones. I guess cell phones just didn't take off in this version of the future. RoboCop makes a call on a payphone, which is pretty funny to people today in the 2020s to see. They don't always get portrayals of the future right in these movies, do they? By the way, you enlist this informant, a homeless drug user nicknamed Pickles, to help you acquire information. So at this point, you end up helping him to find a movie that he forgot the name of. Yes, you have to help him find a movie. Although, in all honesty, there is something else behind it. You'll find out if you play the game, but not only do you have to help him find the movie, but you help him find the movie in a VHS cassette rental store. Yes, you see, in future Detroit, everyone's still watching their movies on good old VHS cassette tapes. Hey, you know, look, I'm not even complaining. Maybe that would be for the best. It's like retro future or future retro or something, you know what I mean? It's like a whole genre. So at various points, RoboCop experiences glitches, distorting his view of reality. This affects you, the player, as well. You even get to experience the scene of him returning to his family home, which is now for sale. It's pretty cool to walk through that house. It's a very emotional moment. It was in the movie, and it also is in the game. I'm not gonna maybe bring you to tears, but, I mean, it's something. I mean, this game. It hits you. It hits you right there, right dead center in the chest. Family. And once again, I'm proven to be a solid B kind of guy. Good enough for me? Moving on. As I mentioned before, there are quite a few grammar mistakes in the subtitles, like this one. Many people don't know this, but the punctuation in this case goes inside the quotation marks. That period should go after the last letter, but before the ending quotation mark. I know this because I'm smart, and also because I wrote a novel. It's called New Tokyo. Have I mentioned it yet? You can pick up your own copy by going. And I love how each time Robo gets in the squad car, he does that iconic thing from the movie. He peels out and then bottoms out the car on the ramp up. Beautiful. I'm sure the supervisors bitch about that every time. And another solid B score. I am nothing, my friends, if not consistent. So, not surprisingly, Becker hates the police and wants to replace them all with these robots of his. They look kind of silly, like a variation of the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica. Not terrible, but this is one case where I don't feel like they entirely fit in the world of RoboCop, because these robots do actually look like something that might be created in the real world, and the whole point of RoboCop is that everything's kind of over the top and silly and absurd, just like Ed 209, RoboCop 2, and all the other creations from OCP. The cops threaten to go on strike. The sergeant tells them they can't go on strike, and I guess it doesn't matter either way if Becker's just gonna fire them all. Man, that peeling out never gets old, and hearing the bottom of that car just scrape along the concrete, and that wasn't the sound effect I meant to make. RoboCop ends up going to prison. No, I don't mean he's imprisoned. I mean he goes to the prison to talk to Wendell. Have I not mentioned Wendell yet? He's another one of the ultimate bad guys, like a type of gang leader, drug lord, something. You're not exactly sure what he's doing, but you know it's bad. You know he's evil. To no one's surprise, something goes wrong and Robo has to shoot his way out of the prison. A riot ensues and some unknown mercenaries have broken in. Would you be shocked if I told you that Wendell escapes? No? Didn't think so. And oh my goodness, look at that. I got my first A. Let me tell you something. I was so proud of that A. I immediately called my mom to tell her about it. She just acted confused and kept asking what me getting an A on a test had to do with RoboCop, and so eventually I just hung up because I didn't feel like explaining it all. But I did print a screenshot and put it on my fridge. See? Look, it's there on my fridge. It's in black and white because I didn't have any color ink. But I bet you thought I was joking about that. Now you know I'm telling the truth. Maybe you'll believe me next time. Becker rolls in mid-conversation with the other cops who are talking about him and says,
If not Becker, then who?
Sorry to disappoint you all, you ungrateful fucks.
oh, good old Becker. I love this guy. He never disappoints. Then I have to talk to Mayor Cusack, and I'm like, Psst, I'm not about politics. I'm about policing. So I haven't talked much about the counseling sessions with Dr. Blanche, so now's as good a time as any. She seems as genuine a person as anyone in this dystopian hellhole of urban America. She tries to help RoboCop connect with his human side, and you get to decide how much you want to accommodate her. She even gives you this hard-hitting life lesson, like this one.
But as memories in the past make up everyone's personality, those memories make you who you are as well.
Damn, that's real. That's really real. And oh, the dinosaur references in the game. Superb. Those who know, know. And if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you. You just have to figure it out. There's even a campy commercial for a new product, Afterlife. OCP wants you to bring the dead back to life. Hell, why not? Detroit is the living corpse of a city, so why not bring back actual corpses to life? Oh, and the future Detroit of RoboCop is also pretty much the corpse of a city too.
Hi, I'm Eve, and I've died.
Eve? Oh, I much prefer the Eve from Stellar Blade, don't you guys? You make your way to the CEO's office at the OCP building, and who do you find there but Becker? He tells you that the old man has passed away. At the end of the meeting, he calls for his hookers, saying, "Bitches come."
Now, you leave. Bitches, come!
Beautiful. It's somewhat of a callback to the movies, although it's in the reverse because at one point during the movie, Clarence Boddicker says, "Bitches leave."
Bitches leave.
And so in this case, the guy says, "Bitches come." It's really good. I think it was intentional. No, I do.
Bitches, come!
Bitches leave.
And here it is, folks. We finally get to see RoboCop 2 from, well, the movie RoboCop 2. The new unit that was designed to replace RoboCop. That's a pretty badass design, but it looks almost too cool, like too edgy and badass. We need something a little more campy or silly looking, like the Ed 209. I'm not saying Ed 209 is silly by itself, it's just silly in the context of urban policing. And speaking of the Ed 209, boy, are these fights fun. I never got tired of fighting them. And you know, something I'd never thought of, but RoboCop should never try to smile. Just don't do it, RoboCop. Don't do it. No one wants to see you smile. And there's another famous quote reference when Wendell says he has to erase that mistake.
Keeping you alive this long was a mistake. Let me erase that mistake.
Everyone knows that famous line from the RoboCop movie. And if you don't, you better go watch it. If you haven't seen RoboCop, you need to see it. So at this point, things go full on nuclear fallout. The entire city is in mass chaos, crime, fires, gangs, violence everywhere. The police have been fired. Becker's army of police robots are under the control of Wendell, the bad guy. This is one of the best parts of the game, as you're tasked with making your way through a literal war zone. And man, does it feel like one. Gunshots ring out everywhere, shit's exploding, robots are tearing their way through the city, and there's even an Ed 209 on the rampage. Damn, this game delivers. And you know what? It's all capped off with that RoboCop theme. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. But since I haven't really complained about anything, at least not significant, let me say this. Fuck this bomb defusing segment. Just one quick Google search and I realized that many people felt the same. I absolutely hated this segment of the game because the slightest little failure, the slightest little mistake in this segment, and the whole thing explodes, you're dead and have to start over from scratch. Not fun. Oh, still open? I doubt that. So I saw this large claw holding a bunch of beams next to the path that RoboCop has to take, and I immediately thought I knew what was gonna happen. I saw that mechanical claw up there holding those bunch of, structural beams for skyscraper, and I was like, oh, I know what's about to happen. This is an obvious one. I know there's gonna be a reference to the first movie, and it didn't happen. I was actually surprised. Yeah, genuinely surprised. I thought for sure it was going to happen. What did I think was going to happen? Come on, guys, watch the first movie. If you don't know, you haven't watched the movie, at least not recently. A huge, long-ass shootout ensues with Wendell's robots and mercenaries, and this part got actually hard. I mean, I died here, and that's something that rarely happened to me in the game on normal difficulty setting. You gotta watch out for the assholes shooting the new Cobra whatever weapon, because that thing hits hard. And it's a nod to the first movie. RoboCop pursues Wendell, eventually shooting his hand clean off. Wendell's bleeding out all over the place, blood soaking his clothes, blood soaking the ground around him, but somehow he doesn't lose consciousness. He just keeps rolling. Dude's tough. He's tough as they come. Doesn't even need all his blood. He can even lose like half of all of his blood and he's fine. Then you get to blast him away in a massive overkill that even had me thinking this was beyond excessive. I mean, RoboCop shoots him and shoots him and shoots him, and he doesn't have a weapon at this point. He doesn't pose any threat. And then the guy falls to what I would say would be his death, but I'm virtually certain he was dead long before he hit the ground. The game tasks you with checking up on everyone, and it's at this very moment that I'm feeling disappointed that the final battle was just a fight against a variety of different smaller enemies. I was hoping for a big fight against something massive, some new OCP creation. Well, don't worry. While it's not a brand new creation, it is a massive OCP creation. In a battle that is anything but disappointing, you find yourself head-to-head with the resurrected CEO of OCP, now occupying the menacing RoboCop 2. This final battle of the game was just what I needed to feel satisfied. In the end, I chose to save him rather than kill him or leave him to die of his own accord, and just as the OCP building is collapsing and RoboCop is about to be crushed, the old man leaps forward, pushing RoboCop out of the way and saving RoboCop's life. We are to assume that the old man died in the collapse at this point, his last effort to save RoboCop. Why did the two suddenly decide after this massive fight to then save each other from death? I don't know, but I don't know. It's cool. That's fine. I mean, it's a little bit of a twist, right? You get to see some ending scenes based on your decisions in the game, one of which, for me, was the new mayor resigning. He said he didn't sign up to run this dump. Well, who can blame him? I think that's how pretty much every mayor of Detroit feels nowadays. They didn't sign up to run this dump. Well, actually, I guess they did. They did actually sign up to run that dump. You know what isn't a dump? RoboCop Rogue City. I really did enjoy my time with this game. It went out a little longer than I thought it would, but for any fans of first-person shooters or fans of the RoboCop franchise, I think they will find this game to be really, really solid. I can't say it's the most amazing game or belongs in any sort of top 10 list or even best of the year necessarily, but it's a solid experience and one that is more than worth the effort. There's a lot more to this game that I didn't cover obviously, but it made me fall in love with RoboCop all over again. No homo. So that brings this episode of the Foxx Experience to close, and let me end with a special version of my normal outro. I hope you enjoy it.
Stay real, keep playing, and never forget, yesterday's tomorrow is today's today.